Yes. All right. Starting the recording. Okay. Suzannah, are you ready to go live?
I am ready to go live.
Perfect. Caroline, are you ready for us to go live?
We are live. Haven't changed the...
Yes, I know, but are you ready for me to start the countdown?
All right, let's go.
Alrighty.
Countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Short Film Saturdays. I am so excited to be here with you all again. We are really revving up the new, I'm saying the new year, it's March, but like the new season, I guess, is a better way of putting it, of Short Film Saturdays. My name is Nase DeSanders. I'm the Community Outreach Manager at Soleil Space. Let me tell you a little bit about us. We're a media company based in Brooklyn, New York. Our mission is to achieve a more equitable and representative global film and television landscape. Our focus is on the global diasporas of Asia, Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean, and the Middle East, with the goals of forming closer transcultural community bonds and providing opportunities and resources for our creators to produce premium world-class content. We aim to uplift and underrepresented voices from these regions that are not often seen, authentically represented in the global mainstream media. And there is no better way to do that than via short films. Shorts are often the purest form of artistic expression and often, though not always, executed within the boundaries of smaller production budgets. Since launching Short Film Saturdays in late summer of 2021, we have featured 82 films from 96 filmmakers in 44 countries to date. That is a lot. We are adding to those numbers today. But I've also got some pretty cool news. Soleil Space has just launched the next very exciting phase of our content ecosystem, and that is our platform. Soleil Space has launched the world's first truly global community streaming platform, bringing unprecedented technology innovation to the streaming space. Soleil Space is a first for global creators of color and the only cross-cultural destination exclusively dedicated to the content of the global South diasporas. The platform allows filmmakers to independently monetize their content, build their own micro-communities, and interact directly with their intended audiences. It elevates creators alongside their content through a cinematic tour around the globe. So, that all sounds well and good. How do we check it out? I'm going to let you know right now. As a special gift for our Short Film Saturday viewers, we're offering the first 2 months on the platform free. So you can use code SFS60MAR18 on soleilspace.com to use your free trial of the platform. The code is only valid for the next 2 weeks, so hurry up and sign up. The code that I just said is in the description below and in the chat, so you don't have to memorize it. So, who are we chatting with today? We are here with Suzannah Mirghani. She is a repeat offender. She is back on Short Film Saturdays. We're super happy to have her. Suzannah Mirghani is a writer, researcher, and media studies, museum studies graduate. She's Sudanese-Russian and is interested in the stories about the complexity of identity. Suzannah is a writer, director, and producer of Al Sit, screening on Netflix Middle East, and winner of the Canal Award at Clermont-Ferrand Short Film Festival in 2021, as well as 6 Academy Award qualifying prizes at Tampere Film Festival, AFI Fest, and many more. Her latest short is an experimental documentary social media satire called Virtual Voice, which premiered at Tribeca Film Festival. Suzannah is working on her first feature now, Cotton Queen, which won the Arte Kino Award at L'Atelier, L'Atelier de la Cine Foundation, sorry French-speaking people, at the Cannes Film Festival at 2022. Both of Suzannah's films that we're watching today, Hind's Dream and Caravan, are available on the Soleil Space community streaming platform. So after watching them, if you're like, oh my God, I gotta see it again, you know exactly where to find it. So Suzannah, I'm tossing it over to you now. Please tell us a little bit about the films we're about to watch today.
Thank you. I am so happy to be back here at Soleil Space. I love you guys. I love your platform. I think you're doing amazing things. And I agree with everything you said in your introduction, that short films are really the purest form of understanding a different culture, because once you get into the feature film world, it's a whole different universe. But, you know, this is what you get pure. This is what you get from the filmmaker directly.
Yeah.
And these two films, Caravan and Hind's Dream, are basically films that I made, me and my friends. It's me and my people working together to show something of our lives and our little universe, and that little universe is Qatar. And you can say Qatar in many different ways. It's Qatar if you live here, it's Qatar if you live in some places of the world, and it's Qatar, I think, if you live in the US. So it just gives you a flavor, really, just a flavor of what it feels like to live here. These are two experimental films. They're both poetry films. I like to call them lyrical films. And I hope you enjoy watching them, and I'm happy to discuss them.
Amazing, super exciting. So Caravan, for those of you who are people who come back every week, we have seen Caravan from Suzannah Mirghani on Short Film Saturdays before. Hind's Dream is one that will be new to you all, but if you are joining in for the first time or you weren't able to see Suzannah's first Short Film Saturdays, then you'll also be seeing Caravan for the first time. So here's how today's going to work. We're about to now watch these two amazing short films. Once they're done, do not go anywhere, because we're going to have a lovely Q&A with Suzannah where we dive into everything about these shorts and learn more. And at the very end of that, we are taking audience questions. So if you have questions, definitely hold on to them and submit them at the end. With that, let's go ahead and enjoy those films. Hey everyone, welcome back. For those who are maybe joining us midway through, this is Short Film Saturdays, and we just watched two amazing films by Suzannah Mirghani, our guest today. Both of Suzannah's films that we watched are available on the Soleil Space community streaming platform. So if you joined late or you're currently watching the posted Q&A afterwards, please go to soleilspace.com to check out those films. You can use code SFS60MAR18 on soleilspace.com for a free 2-month trial of the platform. This code is only valid for the next 2 weeks, so hurry up and sign up. With that, we are going to hop into the Q&A. So starting first with Hind's Dream, Suzannah, what inspired you to make Hind's Dream?
Purely the desert. Purely, and the desert is such an amazing space, and we have deserts all over the world, and they're all different, and they look, they have their own topography, and they have their own character. In Qatar, we have the most beautiful dunes. We have mesas, which are kind of these rock formations, and going out to the desert it's a spiritual thing. You don't do it every day. It's something that you do maybe once a year, maybe every so often. Wow. Because we live in the city, right? Doha is a city of extremes, right? So there's high rises, it's fantastical, but at the same time, you just drive a few kilometers out of the city and you're in the desert. And it's those kind of contradictions that I wanted to capture, including the fact that, so I made this film, it was around 2014 when I made the film, and there was a promise to Doha that it would be this futuristic city. In 2030. So there was something called the Qatar Vision, the Qatar National Vision, that was released by the government. It's like a 5-year plan, 10-year plan. It's like the plans that the governments release into the future. And so this was an idea of projecting what the future Doha or the future Qatar would look like. And that's what I brought to this film.
Wow, very nice.
One dream. How does one have a vision of the future?
Very nice. So then with that, who is Hind? Not just in the context of this film, but to you as well. Who is Hind?
She's a young girl. In the context of this film, she's a young Bedouin girl. But in any context of any country of the world, she's a young girl imagining her future. This is somebody who is projecting what her life would be. In this case, she and her husband are Bedouins, which means that they are nomads. They live in a tent. The husband, it's a very traditional formation, family formation. The husband goes out to hunt. The woman stays at home, makes the food, takes care of the children, and so on. So this doesn't really exist anymore. This nomadic life doesn't really exist. While there are pockets of people that might do this, it's the same all over the world with travelers in Ireland or gypsies, or this idea of moving constantly no longer is possible with all the borders, with all the stationary, real estate. So I kind of just wanted to bring this flavor of what it would feel like if we were still able to have these kind of lives that are nomadic and follow the sun or follow the seasons. And I just wanted to think that it's possible. Is it even possible? Is a couple in the desert? Is it possible? And I think it is. We don't know everything, and we don't know everyone, and we don't know every inch of this universe. So for me, this is a couple that does live that life in the desert somewhere.
Very cool. So this is the second film that we've seen from you, the first one being Al-Sit, centered on a girl being married off. Why is this a topic that you gravitate towards?
I'm all about young women. I'm all about young women and their lives and their hopes for the future. So for me, my characters are always young women, and I'm still asking myself this question. I'm still wondering why. I'm still thinking, like, why is this my main character? Even though in Al-Sit there were kind of two, that it was a playoff between the young girl and the grandmother. Were two different generational perspectives in the film. For me here, there is also two generational perspectives, because she projects into the future and she also meets an old oracle. She meets an old woman in the desert. I like this idea of generations talking to each other. Generations talking to each other across time, generations talking to each other within the same household, because for me, that's time travel. That's time travel, to be able to ask your grandmother about her past, or to be able to project your hopes into the future. So this is just the idea of what it is to try time travel within this very small film.
Absolutely beautiful. So then, would you say more than anything, time travel is that connective tissue through your work and the different projects you do? That is very interesting.
For
And
sure,
a very different way of thinking of it, for sure.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. And not in a science fiction kind of way. I mean, Hind's dream is imaginative. So it's a young girl imagining or dreaming. It's literally a dream. So she dreams of a future Doha city, and she doesn't get into a portal or a spaceship or anything like that. So it's not sci-fi, but it's just an idea of what it means to be able to go back into the past also. So with Al-Sit, we saw her talking to her grandmother and going into the past. And with Hind's dream, she's actually going into the future.
Very nice. It's very powerful that way. Without the machines, without the sci-fi aspect, the ability to time travel coming completely from within, from your own mind, is something that any of us can do. It's a very empowering idea. I absolutely love it.
And it's part of our environment in Qatar. I love the comments, because everyone's like, "Oh, is that how you pronounce Qatar?" I didn't know that. And I only know Qatar because of the World Cup, and the World Cup was one of those projections. So I've lived in Qatar for most of my life, and for the last few years. So Qatar won the World Cup bid in 2010. So that was 13 years ago now. And 13 years ago, the projection was all about the World Cup and having Qatar, like putting Qatar on the map, basically. And I say Qatar now just because I know that your audience is diverse and they have multiple different ways of saying it. Normally I would say Qatar, but sometimes if I say that, people wouldn't understand what I'm saying.
That makes sense.
So an idea, like we lived for the last 13 years, we lived with a projection of the World Cup and what Qatar would be like in 2022. And it came to pass, and we had a fantastic time. We had the World Cup here. It was absolutely fantastic. The USA was here, as a team, including all their supporters. And it was a place that it was something that we had imagined, and it came to pass. And we had an absolutely fantastic time. And now everyone knows where Qatar is and what it is.
Yes, very cool. So then, can you please, again, for our international audience, everyone's coming from somewhere different, not just regionally, but like culturally. Can you explain a little bit about child marriages for us as they occur where you are. So I guess I would say wherever you're specifically pulling an inspiration from, right? So whether it's how they come to be specifically in Qatar or in Sudan, I guess, yeah, if you could walk us through that a little bit, just a little context.
Yeah. Yes, so things are changing. Things are definitely changing now. Child marriages are not necessarily the norm anymore, but they do happen. They do happen in our part of the world, and they happen for various reasons. Whether it's just reserving the girl for the future, you know, it could be an engagement for the future, or whether it's actually a child marriage. I think governments now are advanced enough and modern enough to understand that this is a practice that should not occur or should not continue occurring, but it does still happen. There are families that have agreements with each other. You know, it's like cousin marriage is a normal thing also, you know. So like in Sudan, where I'm from, cousin marriages are perfectly normal. And it's okay to say so-and-so will marry so-and-so when they get older, when they're 5 years old, you know, from a very early age, it's like you are betrothed. But it's something that's slowly fading out in the modern, in the contemporary time, which is a good thing. But it does still occur. And I like to find those instances where it does happen and just shine a light on that, because it does occur.
Yeah, very interesting. And so is this something that we are seeing like completely relegated to like smaller towns, or is it still something that happens in like cities or in more populous areas?
No, I would imagine that now, at least the places that I've lived, so whether it's the capital cities or the big cities of Sudan, and then obviously Qatar, it's not the norm anymore. Right. Okay. So it's something that does occur in the rural areas or in tribal areas or places where kind of the government hasn't caught up. But it does happen, and it's a story that should be told.
Yes, very interesting. Very nice. So, well, not nice. Nice that you are teaching us about it. Not nice that it's happening. So, moving forward to our second short film, Caravan. What was the writing process for Caravan like, since it doesn't have that typical narrative structure?
Yeah, it's the idea of the lyrical. So it's the idea of shooting and then writing after you had shot. So it was experimental in the sense that I did not have a script. I had an idea of 16 cars. There were 16 cars, and in each car would be a different nationality and a different language, a different perspective, a different age group, a different demographic, which really sums up life in Qatar. So 90% of the people that live in Qatar are foreign residents. And this is something that a lot of people elsewhere, like we understand it perfectly, but a lot of people elsewhere would think of it as exceptional, because this does not happen elsewhere in the world, that you would have 90% of the country would be so multicultural and would have so many different nationalities. So I wanted to kind of compact that into this little traffic jam. Now we have flyovers. Now we don't have traffic jams that much anymore. But when I wrote this film, and back in the day, my life was traffic jams.
If I might stop you for 1 second. What is a flyover?
Oh, okay. A flyover is, how do I describe it? Like a highway over another highway, like a spaghetti junction.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have like all kinds of roads now that divert traffic, so that you no longer get the traffic jams that we used to have, which was like the seventh circle of hell. So we used to have roundabouts everywhere in Qatar, and the Middle East generally, but the Gulf region specifically. It's a hangover from the British colonial times. We were a protectorate here. We were a British protectorate, and we had the road system that they had in the UK, that they had in Britain. So they would have roads, a roundabout, another road, and people would have to navigate around these roundabouts, which meant that you had to be in traffic for a very long time.
Yeah.
They did away with all of that. Instead of roundabouts, now we have traffic lights, which means that things can move much faster. So my film is actually a document of its time. So you wouldn't necessarily find so many traffic jams anymore. But I don't drive, so I am a passenger. I'm a lifelong passenger. So I sit in the back seat and I watch people in their cars, and I take notes, and I see. So everybody in this film is actually somebody that I have seen from my back window, from my passenger seat window. The family with the niqab fighting over the radio station, the people sitting there with the window open, talking, asking how each other how they should pronounce the word Qatar. The kid kind of like half leaning out of the car with her nanny in the back. All of these people are real people that I have noted as a passenger. So it was just kind of an observational documentary in a traffic jam.
Wow. So there's a bunch of people out there who have no idea they're in a short film. That is so funny.
It's all of us. It's all of us at some point in time.
No, absolutely. It's interesting how relatable it is. We're only seeing just like a split second of someone's life. We know nothing about them. We just see this tiny little bit. We're like, oh yeah, I've done that. Oh yeah, that one's me. Oh, that's my sister. That, it's very interesting.
Yeah, and I remember, so I made both these films actually. Caravan specifically, I made with the Doha Film Institute, which is like a godsend for filmmakers in Qatar. So it's a film institute that has workshops, really helps people make their films. So I had taken a workshop, a short filmmaking workshop for Caravan, and we made it all with our crew. Our crew was everyone else in the workshop. And this is what I loved about it. It was so intimate. It was so small. It was zero budget. It's just it's an idea that we were able to develop on site just because of this workshop. And so these are the things that we miss in other parts of the world. So I'm also from Sudan, and we don't have that kind of support. So I always have to give thanks to the Doha Film Institute for being able to make this film.
Very nice. Yes, thank you, Doha Film Institute. Because we're super happy this film got made. It sounds like a very fun environment. All of your classmates together. Everyone just bring your cars and we'll film this. That's really fun. So, next question. What ultimately do you want audiences, specifically international audiences, to take away from your short Caravan? Especially considering we are learning to say that quite a few people in the audience have limited knowledge about Doha, about Qatar.
Yeah, I honestly, it was all about the diversity of people here. It was really to show this idea of diversity. I don't think I've ever lived in a country that has been so diverse in terms of nationality and ethnicity. Wow. I went to high school here, and my class was everyone and everything in that one space. So I just wanted to pay homage to that. I wanted to make sure that people around the world saw the diversity of Qatar. I mean, I know that it was in the news recently for all kinds of reasons, whether it's the World Cup or whether it's the workers or whether it's, but the main cultural experience that you get here is one of diversity. You have all the foods, all the languages, all the perspectives. So that was my main aim. And I think I had seen a couple of inspirational videos before that, and one of them was REM. Do you remember the video for REM for Everybody Hurts? I don't know if you remember that, but that's all set in a traffic jam. That's going way. It's a beautiful song, and I remember always thinking that I love this idea of people connecting to each other through their car windows, because this space is temporary, and it was kind of a symbolizing Qatar, because a lot of people are here temporarily. They're on work visas, they come for a few years, they leave. but there is a connection within that short time. So that was one. And the other is the first few minutes of Fellini's 8.5. They're also trapped in this traffic jam, and he just looks at all these different faces. It doesn't have the same voiceover narration, but just to imagine a society that is stopped in time. If you are now stopped in time, everyone around you becomes your community.
Yes. That is beautiful. I like that last bit, when you're stopped in time, everyone around you becomes your community. That is very interesting. So Caravan ends with the poem The Emptiness by Osama Gwazi. What is the significance of ending the film with this poem specifically, and how does it relate to the content of the film?
I love how you point this out, because a lot of people don't bother watching the credits. So they usually just, like, when the film stops, they just stop. So I love that you bring up the poem in the credits, because that is, so that the place where I shot this film is now called the Pearl. It's a man-made island. It's reclaimed land in Qatar. So before it was the sea, then they, I don't know what they did technically or in engineering terms, but they literally shored it up. So now it is land. It used to be the sea, and now it's land. Wow. And it talks about, the poem talks about someone looking for their grandfather's rings in the sea. It's a poem that goes back to your ancestors, going back to the sea. And what happens if the sea is no longer there? What happens if it's now land? How do you look for your grandfather's ring? And I thought it was very evocative of the end of this film, because we look out to sea, we're on this traffic jam, we're on this land, we're symbolizing the society of Qatar, and then it opens up to the sea. You find out that the first car that's causing the traffic jam doesn't actually have a driver. What happened to that driver? Where has he or she gone? Into the sea, perhaps. So it's just a comment on the idea of land reclamation, and what happens to, where do you find what has been lost?
Wow, that is very, very interesting. So I do, kind of transitioning now into your work, yourself as a filmmaker, I do want to ask about what you called at the beginning of the program. I believe you said lyrical films, right?
Exactly.
So what is drawing you to create stories in this way? Away from narrative structure, more with poetry, with lyrics in mind, what is drawing you towards that?
Well, I mean, before I was a filmmaker, I loved poetry. So before I was able to create visually, I would create in terms of words or in terms of sounds. So I was able, with my first films, I was able to put the two together, to just say, well, I love writing and I love visualizing, and how do I bring these together with no cast and no crew? Right. So I made the first film, I made Hind's Dream with the two actors. It was me and the two actors. So I didn't have any gaffers, I didn't have any cinematographers, I didn't, it was just the three of us. And I was able to make the film in the edit as well, and then write and rewrite the poem as I edited. So I love that process. I just thought it was a process that I could make, and I could create, and I could change, and I could make a mistake, and then I could go back and fix it. And it didn't have, so now I'm making more formal traditional films, and it's like, if you make a mistake, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal, because you cannot go back and hire your same crew and your same cast. Whereas with lyrical films or with poetry films, you can update, you can change. It gives you a lot of flexibility. It gives you a lot of freedom. And I think that's where the lyricism comes in, because it's like, it's open-ended, it's free, it floats, it feels much lighter, and people can understand it in whichever way they want. So I love the poetry film. I also love the traditional film. It just has more shackles. So the poetry film is freer.
That is a very interesting way of putting it. Yeah. So what films or filmmakers inspire you and your work the most?
I am very eclectic in my filmmaking, in my film watching. I love so many different types of film. I'm actually a really huge fan of noir. Like I love 1940s Hollywood more than any other genre. But that doesn't reflect, that doesn't translate in the work that I do currently. I'm hoping in the future to make a noir. For now, I love Alice Rohrwacher. She's an Italian filmmaker. She works a lot in rural. She does this magical rural genre. I can't. That's the only way that I can describe it. So I'm really in love with that. I like to discover films that aren't being talked about or that a lot of people don't know about. I'm not a fan of Netflix, I have to say. I love it. I love Netflix, but I'm not a. I don't do shows. So I would much rather, find a 1950s, I don't know, Argentinian film than watch a show from today. Even though I've been guilty of that as well. It's like Friday nights, what can you do?
Yeah. Very cool. How has your experience been on the Soleil Space platform so far?
Oh, it's been fantastic. You guys are fantastic. I love it. I think your project and your program and your platform is really just what we need as independent filmmakers, especially because how else are you supposed to get your work out into the world? We work hard as our own distributors, as our own producers. We have to make our own space. And then you give us the space to actually screen the films, to show them to other people. So my experience from day one has been fantastic, and I'm very thankful to you guys.
I'm so happy to hear that. Audience members, if you're enjoying today and you want to send Suzannah a tip, you can actually do that on the Soleil Space platform. It is the perfect way to support indie filmmakers, so be sure to log on so you can do that. Now, I am going to open the floor to audience questions. So everyone type your questions away. While they're typing, Suzannah, what is next for you? What projects should we be looking forward to? I definitely want to hear about Cotton Queen.
Yes, I have been working on my first feature for a long time. So the beauty about shorts is that you can make them, you can have fun, you can do them, you can screen them, and then you can move on to the next one. With your feature, with my first feature at least, it takes a long time. So it is just that much more years of your life. I'm still in the process. I'm still in the process of funding. I have some great people that I'm working with. I have some great producers and co-producers. So we are funding and we're in pre-production now, and we hope to shoot at the end of the year and edit, and then hopefully by next spring, summer, it'll be out there. It just takes longer. You just realize that you have to have a lot of patience.
Oh yeah, very cool. And so is Cotton Queen going to be more narrative or lyrical?
Both.
Love it.
Both. It is literally both. It is if anyone here on the platform, if anyone here on this live today has seen El Cid, it's the more realized complete version of El Cid. El Cid was a small chapter in this longer story. And it has a bit of both. It has a touch of magical realism as well.
Oh, I am a big fan of magical realism, I must say. So
Me
how
too,
can audiences...
Me too.
Oh yeah, absolutely love it. How can audiences find you, keep up with you on social media, website? Where should they be looking for you?
Well, I'm really bad at social media, as you found out today. I'm not great about posting lots of things. I post about my films. My Instagram is Suzannah Mirghani or just at Suzannah Mirghani, and Facebook as well. And I post whatever is significant. Nothing insignificant.
Perfect. So we'll be following you on socials. Also, I do happen to know one more place that people can find you on the Soleil Space platform. Again, it's a community streaming platform, so you guys can follow Suzannah and see everything she's got going on there. With that, I would like to open the floor to audience questions. Let me scroll a bit and see what's going on. Suzannah, Do you have a dream film that you'd like to make if you had unlimited resources? Oh, that's a very fun question.
That is a great question. I would like to make the film that I'm currently trying to make, which is Cotton Queen. This is the first film. This is actually my first feature, is the film that I really want to make. This is what I want to make for now. I haven't even thought about future films because I've been so invested in terms of time, in terms of money, in
Yeah.
terms of resources and effort into making this film. So Cotton Queen is my dream film. And when I'm done with that, then I'm happy to do a comedy or a noir or whatever else it is. But for now, I'm investing my entire life into Cotton Queen.
Very cool. Very exciting. We're very excited for Cotton Queen. Another question, how difficult was it to shoot that underwater shot in Hind's dream?
Well, luckily, technology is fantastic. It was a GoPro. It was very easy. It was a one hand. It was, it was not difficult. It's a GoPro.
The GoPro is revolutionary, I must say. All
It's
those shots
amazing.
that would have been impossible just like 10 years ago, super doable
It
now.
really is amazing. And I remember getting one and just thinking that this is the most fantastic thing I've seen, that you can go underwater, you can go in the air. It does not destroy. It's not destructive at all. You can shoot in any environment, and I love it. And it's relatively affordable.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. In Hind's dream, you see the drastic difference between the two sides of Qatar. Do you think there's a bigger shift that Qatar would be as progressive as the Western countries?
Okay, now I missed the last part. So in Hind's dream, you see a drastic difference between the two sides of Qatar.
And do you think there is a bigger shift coming for Qatar to become as progressive as Western countries?
Oh my God, Qatar is more progressive than any Western country I've ever
I was going to say there's a bit
lived
of an opinion in that, thrown in that question for sure.
Yes. Oh my God, this space is it's already like living in the future. Living here is already like living in the future. There is so much advanced technologies. Everyone, in terms of their ID or whatever, everything is online, everything is automated. So yeah, I would say we're already like we're in 2030.
Nice. I will say I live in Spain, and all the bureaucracy that could definitely be online is not, and it's infuriating. It's driving me crazy.
It's actually amazing in terms of just getting things done at the click of a button.
Nice. That is very cool. And I guess it makes sense with such a large percentage of the population being from elsewhere. Bureaucracy needs to be quick. There's a lot of people that need to be going through these systems. So that's super cool. Yeah. I love they have it down. I hope Spain takes some notes.
For sure. And if you've heard anything about our neighbors, Saudi Arabia, and what they're doing with their futuristic cities and their fully automated cities, like they want cities to be fully automated in terms of services.
Yes, I have been reading about that. It's very, very interesting stuff. I'm super excited to see where all of this goes. And see how it will affect art in the future. Ho ho. So, some more audience questions. What makes you decide to make a short film versus a feature? So the idea, how do you decide whether it's a feature film or a short film?
My mental health.
Relatable.
I make shorts to date. I haven't made a feature yet. I'm in process, and it's been taking so long that hats off to whoever makes features in their lives, because it is a long, stressful, drawn out process. So making shorts, like I look at making shorts as being this beautiful, ideal world. So I would continue making shorts depending on budgets and depending on how much fun you want to have in the process, and how much time you have also. You can make a short in relatively short amounts of time and have fun doing it the entire way and have control over it the entire way.
Yeah, absolutely. So some more audience questions. We have a lot, and a lot of good ones too. After you finish Cotton Queen, would you see yourself making more films about Qatar or Sudan or other places?
For now, it's Qatar and Sudan because these are the two places I know the most intimately. So these are the places that I situate myself and situate my stories. If I lived somewhere else, I would be more than happy to do a film elsewhere. For now, it's Qatar and Sudan and cyberspace. I made a film about cyberspace. Like I have a film called Virtual Voice that's fully online. It's all just about scrolling through social media.
Very, very cool. So with that, we'll have to end the audience questions. Everyone, thank you so, so much for submitting. Parting words. As you guys know, we have just launched our community streaming platform. So to learn more about the amazing Suzannah Mirghani, her Meet the Director video, an interview with just Suzannah all about her as a filmmaker, her artistry, is available on the Soleil Space platform. So definitely go and check that out. Soleil Space is a first for global creators of color and the only cross-cultural destination exclusively dedicated to the content of the global South diasporas. So if you want to rewatch those films that we saw today, see more films by other Soleil-based filmmakers, watch Suzannah's Meet the Director, you gotta check it out. And again, as a special gift to our Short Film Saturday viewers, we are offering the first 2 months on the platform free. So use code SFS60MAR18 on soleilspace.com to use that free trial. The code is only valid for the next 2 weeks, so hurry up and sign up. The code is in the description below and in the chat, so you don't have to memorize what I just said. With that, Suzannah, thank you so, so much for joining us today. It has been absolutely lovely having you again.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you, Soleil Space, and whoever is out there, join the platform. It is absolutely fantastic, and you can see films from all over the world. It's fascinating.
Awesome. So our next Short Film Saturday is going to be on April 1st, a very funny day to be holding a Short Film Saturday. So we'll see you there. And in between now and then, we will see you all on the platform, the Soleil Space platform. Bye, everyone.